Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule of the Galaxy fans. It is Joe in the pilot seat, and just like we recently had Mr. Mark Mulcaster of the Fantha Tracks podcast and site on with us. Of course, he was all the way from England. Today, we're going to do another just one-on-one, as I like to say, fireside chats. We're not in a hot tub like other people that I know who do their talks in a hot tub, but we're just going to have some fun with friend of the show, friend of me, friend of everybody in the Star Wars community, the most listened to man in South Georgia radio, Mr. Scott Ryfun. Scott, how are you?
I was promised there'd be a hot tub.
That's the other
I'm a
guy.
little, yeah. Well, I don't know if you noticed this. I came in my Speedos
I did notice.
because I was preparing for the hot tub.
Yeah, I noticed, and yeah, I don't know where to go with you being in Speedos, but no hot tub today. So put the
I
robe
also
back
like the,
on. Yeah.
I also like the friend to everyone in the Star community. There are people who hate me. There are people who hate, and I don't, I don't know what I did other than have opinions, but hate.
My son does a podcast on auto racing, and he always
Mm-hmm.
says yellow breeds yellow and in
Mm-hmm.
races. I think hate breeds hate, you know. So those people probably already have hate in their heart, and they just
Started
try
with
to,
hate,
yeah,
and they finished with hate.
correct. And they
Yeah,
they
that makes sense.
they try to give that hate out to everyone else to get it back to them. And honestly, we're all about love here, Rule of the
Yeah,
Galaxy.
and that's so antithetical to Jedi teaching.
True. They must be Sith.
Yeah, that's the only explanation. The only
I
explanation. How have you been,
agree.
by the way?
I've been doing well. I've been
Yeah.
doing well. Been keeping busy. I did take a break. I've missed a couple of our regular shows just because some things I have going in the evening. But I always like to say, the Beatles didn't have one lead guy; they had four leads, while the Rolling Stones had one lead. I say the Rule of Galaxy is like the Beatles. We've got four leads here. We can any of them lead a show, so they've been doing a great job when I've missed the main shows.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll be getting back into the swing of things starting next week because we're prepping for the ICCC in Nashville, and we're
Yeah.
gonna have us all together to plan for that and then discuss when we get back. So, but yeah, I took a quick vacation. My wife and I jumped down to Gulf Shores, Alabama,
Uh-huh.
which I'd never been to before. It was nice, but I will let you know for anyone who's in the vacation planning mode, I liked it, but I really, really like Destin, Florida better. And they're right there on the coast and not too far from each other. So my words of wisdom to you would be spend a little bit extra money, go to Destin. So
What was the difference? I mean, why is Destin better than Gulf Shores?
I think the beach, believe it or not, is actually better. Gulf Shores is a little more slanted, a little more drop off, a little darker sand. Destin, a little bit more whiter sand and very flat going out. You can walk out to the water on it. But the strip by the hotels in Destin, it is just covered with bars, restaurants, stores, all that. And plus, a lot of them are on the water, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
sit and have a nice dinner looking out over the water. Gulf Shores, I didn't feel like offered the same amount of any of those things.
Okay,
So
but
that was
but
a
some would
detraction.
recognize that as a positive, wouldn't they? I mean,
That's
there wasn't
that's
much there, because we wanted to get away from everything, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the beach was fine. We enjoyed our
Mm-hmm.
beach time, but we're kind of those ones who are like, okay, we're going to spend our time at the beach, but then we're going to bounce around and do some things. And it was
Yeah.
just a little further back to
Okay.
go do things in Gulf Shores.
So you're my wife on vacation. Got it. Okay. Just want to. It's like we do Disney like every other summer. We do 9 days at Disney usually,
Yeah.
except in 2020 when they were reopening from COVID and we did 11 days. But we usually do 9 days, and our strategy is there are four parks, so we do one full park day. So
Mm-hmm.
day one is travel, day two is parks, four is parks, six is parks, eight is parks, nine's go home. That means that 3, 5, and 7 are supposed to be rest days. And so I was like, let's rest on that day. And yes, and then we're worn out at the end of a park day. And I'll say, we're just going to rest, right? We're going to stay around the hotel room and just rest, right? Oh, yes, I'm too tired to do anything. And then the next morning by 7 o'clock, she is dressed, yanking me out of bed. Come on, let's go do something. Let's go. Come on, we got to get going. So you're telling me that you guys are my wife on vacation. She can't.
Well, I am.
She's got
I
this
hate,
motor, just
yeah,
goes.
I hate to say it, but I am
You're my
It's
wife. That's what you're
transposed.
saying.
My wife is you. My wife will say, "Hey, today's a great beach day. Let's just go to the beach. Let's go up to the room, grab some dinner, and then that's it. We don't have to do anything else." I'm like the Energizer Bunny. I can't
Yeah.
I can't stop. So
Yeah. I got to have some downtime. I've got to have downtime. Of course, because I don't get it like during the normal day. I don't get downtime. During the week, I don't really get downtime.
yeah, I get that feeling completely. I
Roe
understand.
the other day or today, Roe from Scarif Scuttlebutt
Mm-hmm.
posts on Twitter. I have this weekend off. I haven't had a weekend off in years. What did you do on the weekends? And I sleep. That's what I do.
Well, it also comes down to you ride your bike all those many miles, so you need to rest. I don't
Yeah.
exercise near as much as you do, so
Done 67 miles this week, and I still have
oh.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So
And you're wearing your Boba Fett Columbia? Is it Columbia
yeah,
jacket?
this was it's the Columbia.
Yeah.
It was raining earlier today, so I put that on, and then of course I got in here and I was in a hurry because I've been out doing things and wanted to get here and be able to record with you. And I walked in, and I was like, my wife said, can you turn the thermostat down a little bit? She said, yeah, you could take your jacket off. It's my Boba Fett jacket, and
That's
look, I
right.
got
Oh,
my
going a full
Mando
theme there.
Mythosaur T-shirt on. Yeah, that was a coincidence actually, but I mean, if it's raining, I've got to put the Boba Fett jacket on because that is the rain jacket I have. So
Understood.
yeah.
I have a favorite jacket,
Mm-hmm.
which I wore it for the first time. Well, I wore it now that I've updated it. I wore it for the first time to the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary movie I went to because it was sprinkling and
Mm,
raining when we went. But it is my favorite jacket. I've had it for 10 plus years. It's an Under Armour jacket, but
mm,
it had the logo of the company I used to work at on it. And I said, I don't want to keep that logo on me for the rest of my life, even though it's my favorite jacket.
yeah.
So I went and got the Luke Skywalker, gosh, what's it called? The logo is on his X-Wing helmet.
Okay. The little
Yeah,
the little Phoenix thing.
the Phoenix. I got
Yeah.
that. I put that patch over the old company's logo. So now it is an
Nice.
Under Armour jacket with the Star Wars logo on it.
And it is unique and one of a kind,
It is a one of a
which
kind.
is redundant.
So yes, unique and one of a kind.
Yes.
Correct. But yeah, so I'm really kind of feeling good about it. Can't wait to have it at ICCC with me. Not that I'll
Oh
need it,
yeah.
but I want to show it off. So
Now you said you wore it to your screening of the Return of the Jedi
mhm.
re-release. That means it came to Indianapolis.
It did. It did. It
Okay.
was so I'm silly enough that some friends of mine and I really like movies, and we bought the Regal Pass for
Yes.
Regal Movies.
Yes.
And so we get to see as many movies as we want for
Mm-hmm.
$18 a month, which when movies cost $14 and $15 a piece,
Yeah.
you go see two and you're ahead of the game. Uh, and
Absolutely.
and then of course Return of the Jedi is on AMC only. And
Oh,
and
is that what the deal was?
yeah.
It was only at AMC's. Okay.
Yep.
Because I know it was a light release, and I know they didn't get it here because we don't have an AMC, but I didn't know if it was just because there was nothing but AMC.
Yeah. So here I am going, oh, I could use my pass. No, I
Mm-mm.
can't. No. So I actually had to pay full price, which was fine. My wife had never seen Return of the Jedi in the theater.
And you still
Obviously,
married her?
well, I mean, she was 10, 11 when Return of the Jedi came out, and she was
Which
a
is the
girl.
proper age.
I don't think she ever watched a Star Wars movie until we were dating. So I thought, what a great time to get her to see this. She's seen the sequels and the prequels with me in the theater, but she had not seen one of the original trilogy movies. So when I saw this opportunity, I was like, we should go. We should go, and you should see it in the theater. And so we did, and it was fun. It was a good time.
Good, good.
And you saw it twice, correct?
I saw it twice. Yeah, we don't have an AMC here, and that's why I'm always amazed when people. I just went to the AMC and thought, well, that must be nice. So I started looking at it, and I noticed it was coming to Orange Park in Jacksonville, and that was the closest movie theater to me that it was, and it's about an hour and 10 minutes away, so it's not ridiculous, but it's not good either. And they had a 12:30 show, and I was like, I would like to see that. I would like to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Friday, and I kind of do a split day on Friday anyway, as um, Steve Glosson erroneously said on the Deuce Cast the other week that I go in at 5:30 in the morning. That is incorrect. I'm at the studio at 4 in the morning. Which, by the way, can I tell you something about Steve Glosson before I finish the story?
Well, yes, of course. This is kind of this is where I let you and Steve be the sound. I'm your sounding board. So go right ahead.
Steve Glosson is an enormously wonderful human being. He is funny, he is creative, he is insightful, and he is a tremendous friend. That's what I'm going to say about Steve Glosson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Steve Glosson. I
cannot wait to post this. I mean, that's gonna rile up the entire internet right there.
I know. I love that. He is a wonderful. He's just genuinely a great human being.
You mean the guy who does impersonations of you on every podcast he's on? He's a great human being?
And his impression of me has become, it's kind of like Dana Carvey's George Bush became George Bush. Like George Bush wasn't George Bush anymore. Dana Carvey's George Bush was George Bush. Now Steve's me has become everybody's me.
I even think I heard your son trying to be Steve, be you.
Yes. Yes. And just like, okay, no, but just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful human being. Anybody who is a friend of Steve's is a richer person for having him in their lives. That's what I'm going to say.
I really like that. And I will tell you, I've brought this up to you and him before. When I 12, 13 years ago, when I first started listening to podcasts, when I first started catching on to, wow, there's people out there speaking about the same things that I like. Your Star Wars stories, his Geek Out Loud, those were some of the first ones that I kind of caught on to. And I caught on to you guys from whether it was Rebel Force Radio or Star Wars Report or whatever. It's just like all this little community.
Yeah.
And I will go on top of that and say that not only is Steve that kind of a person, but you are. So I know everybody's going to think we're being all mushy, but you guys, let's face it, 3 years ago, you didn't know who Joe and Rule of the Galaxy was. And with a simple typing on the keyboard to say, hey guys, I love what you guys have done. Would you ever want to be on our show? You guys never blinked an eye. You just said, heck yeah, let's go. Let's have some fun. And we've been talking for 3 years since. So, I mean, I would agree with you on Steve, and I'll throw kudos your way as well, because a lot of people, whether it's in podcasting, whether it's in social media, whether it's in YouTube, they don't give you the time of day. They're like, no, I'm trying to get my hits and my numbers. I don't really want to waste time with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And see, Steve and I don't care about that. But I will, it's funny because you said, you've heard of this, and whether it was Rebel Force Radio or, I've never been on Rebel Force Radio.
Really? I guess it was just my imagination. Like, no, maybe Glosson brought you up on it.
No, it's just, he does. And Jimmy will bring me up every so often. And Steve will occasionally say, hey, I was talking to Jimmy the other day. He says, they got to have you on. And I'll go, okay. And then I never get the call. I have never once, and it's all right, whatever, because it's still probably my favorite Star Wars podcast on the planet. But I've never been on there. I've never been invited on there. It's never happened. And I've done podcasts with Jimmy before, but it's never, I don't know. And I don't know what that is, but yeah, it's never, but the weird thing is, like, a number of people have said to me, yeah, I knew you from hearing you on Rebel Force Radio. I've never been on there. So it's like, you could not have heard me on Rebel Force Radio, but I appreciate that. We
heard of you.
But yeah, but I'm like, Steve's a friend, and I've done things with Steve. Riley's a friend. I've done things with Riley. They've both been on. So I guess it's just one of those things, Bray's a friend.
Adam Bray. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and he's been on. So I guess people just associate me with those guys and just assume that I have been on when I have not actually ever been on. Which is kind of a weird thing.
It is weird. Last year at the ICC, Jason and Jimmy were there doing their show live.
That's right.
We were doing our show live. And so I reached out to them and said, can we get 5 minutes when we're down there? They said, yeah. And we both had a break between our show, their show. And so they were going out and looking at some toys. And I said, hey guys, I'm Joe. We did the introduction thing. We talked for an hour in a hallway, just about everything Star Wars, about all kinds of collecting. Super great guys. And I couldn't have been happier to just sit there and go, wow, this is really cool because I listen to you guys every week. But it's funny because my son, who started this show that we're on right now,
Yeah.
um, I'm not sure he really catches all of our episodes, but I will text him and say, hey, what's going on? Hey, I'm listening to Rebel Force Radio. What do you need? And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joey. Appreciate it, man. Show the
Speaking
love.
speaking of speaking of all of your episodes, and you mentioned you took some time off. Does D Dog just not have a day job? Is that what's going on there? Because he like always seems to be able to just jump up and host Rule the Galaxy at a moment's notice. Is that does he
It's
live
so
off the
funny.
fat of the land? What's going on there?
D-Doc is, I guess he's kind of an independent contractor, with his
Mhm.
plumbing and his do-it-yourself stuff. And he, because we record at night and his kids are little, he's able to put them to bed and then run the show. But it's so funny looking back at that. And that was one of the things I wanted to kind of talk about today. So it's funny you brought that up is, you know, the friends we make and the things we do in the podcasting world of the Star Wars community. 2 years ago, Labor Day weekend, I received this from
I
D-Doc. And I know
love
you
that.
can't really see it. I mean, it's 3D, it's all wood, everything like
Hmm.
that, right? But
Oh yeah.
D-Doc was a listener of our show, and he said, "Man, I love what you guys do. I do kind of woodwork stuff. I do it yourself stuff. Do you mind if I send you something?" I'm sure. And when it showed up on race day. And after
Hmm.
race day, I did a quick filming, opening it up and everything like that, and then posted it out there. And then we had him on like a week or two after that, and
Hmm.
he's been with us ever since. I think show 96 is when he got on the show,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
he lives in Philadelphia, and all of us live in Indianapolis. We are going to meet in 2 weeks at the ICCC for the first time face to face. But you
Really?
would you would think, I mean,
Yeah.
Alfie and I text with D-Doc 30 times a day.
Hmm.
And so it's like I feel like I've known him since I was a little kid, but honestly, we've known for 2 years and we've never met
Wow.
face to face. So yeah.
I would
But
never have known that.
D-Duck's a great host and he's just very natural
Hmm.
because he does the TikTok. He's very natural in front of the camera on the mic. And so when I need to take a break, which with work and family and grandkids now, because I'm old, every now and
Uh-huh.
then I've got to break away, and he does a great job, and so I can't
Yeah. Oh, he
thank him
does.
enough. So,
And plus, he's workshopped that little studio of his into
oh,
a nice little bit of eye candy too. So you
it's
got to like
gorgeous.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, if I get to
But
Philly, I'll go check that out. But right now, that's on the plans to get out to Philadelphia anytime soon. So, but
yeah.
yeah, you've done a great job on yours. Mine, I've just thrown together. Most of mine are either things that people gave me or things that I made myself, like that R2 and Darth Maul. I drew those
Hmm.
in
Oh,
college
cool.
because I went back to school when I was older and I had to
Hmm.
take an art class because I guess I never
Ah,
took one. So I drew those. My brother Tony did this AT-AT
the
on
AT-AT.
his own by
Okay.
hand. That's my wallpaper from 1978 that my mom kept a roll
Ah,
of, and I cut it
really?
and put it into a frame. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I love that. You don't understand. I was eBay shopping not too long ago for Star Wars wallpaper.
Mm-hmm.
And here's why. And I don't know if G-Man knows this or not. And it's actually a little bone of contention with the wife and me.
Okay.
Um, one day, my son will move out. Now,
It
I,
will.
I don't know if that day will actually happen while I'm alive, but I know that it will happen one day. And I told my wife, because she's like, well, what do you want to do? Because she wants me to put my studio in my office up there where his room is. Because it's got a big closet, which would make a good sound studio. But I really like being here. I like being I'm on the first floor of the house. I
Sure.
got a bathroom right that's kind of part of my office is kind of set off from the rest of the house the way it's designed. It's
Yeah.
like, all the living stuff, and then over here on the other side of the kitchen is my office. But I got my own little bathroom back here. I got my own little space, and I like having my territory over here. I'm
Sure.
bad about needing to have my spaces. But she keeps wanting me to move up there, and I'm going, no, I've got a plan for that bedroom. I want to make it like we went to, I guess it was Celebration 2017 in Orlando.
Okay.
And Sand Suite's Rancho Obi-Wan
Mm-hmm.
display was a bedroom, if you remember.
I've
And
seen the pictures of it. I didn't go to that one.
it was wonderful. And he's just a great guy too. Um, but I want to do something like that up there. I want to make an authentic, like 1980
Oh,
kid bedroom, complete with, and Star Wars, Star Wars wallpaper, Star Wars sheets, Star Wars curtains, Star Wars toys on the shelves, and just and do
yeah.
and some kind of a shag carpet type thing, and just
Like the kids' bedroom in Argo. You remember that? In Argo, he
yes,
had all the
yes,
Star Wars stuff in it.
or like
Yeah.
the kid's bedroom in Poltergeist, really,
True.
because that was of the era. But yeah, and I want to do that with her. And she's like, "We're not doing that." I'm like, "Why? It would be amazing. It would be wonderful. It would show up on the internet. People would take pictures of it because it'd be so cool. We could Airbnb it because people go, I want to stay in
Oh.
the Star Wars bedroom with the toys and the. So I don't know if that's actually ever going to be able to happen, but for that very
Hmm.
reason, I was actually looking up the old wallpapers and there are still people selling unused rolls of it on eBay, believe it or not. But
Yeah.
yeah, I want to do it all authentic. I don't want to do any
Yeah.
repro. I don't want to do anything new. I want to do everything like straight up from back then. But I'm facing a little bit of an obstacle there.
You get it set up, and when I come down that way, I'll definitely try to stay in that room because
Okay, all
that
right,
sounds
that's
awesome.
fair. That's fair. I mean, we've got a guest room already, and that's the other reason why I don't see why I can't just do that in that room because we've already got a guest room. It's okay, but for some reason there's a squabble about that. But anyway, back to Return of the Jedi in Orange
Yeah.
Park.
Yeah. You went
um,
twice, hour and a half away.
well,
Yeah.
it's about an hour 10. There was a 12:30 show, and I was like, I split my Fridays. I really would like to go see it. I really like to just go ahead and just knock it out during the day. Stop by the comic shop because we don't have a comic shop here. They have a bunch of good comic shops down there. The best of which, in my opinion, is Gotham City Limit. Just in case you're ever in Jacksonville.
Okay.
And the reason I say that because they're good. I mean, Coliseum of Comics is good. They're good comic shops. Gotham City Limit is the best because A, they've got a dog, and B, Ben, the owner, orders so much stuff that because I can only get down there every couple of months or so, and he never doesn't have what I need
Gotcha.
because he never sells out of anything really because he orders so much. So I always go there first, and then after that, I usually don't need to go anywhere else because I got everything I wanted there. But anyway, so yeah, I thought I'll do that. I'll do the 12:30. So I kind of had my heart set on doing 12:30. I kind of had my day built around that. And then I said to Mrs. Ryfun, I said, "You want to go see Return of the Jedi in Orange Park?" She said, "No, I'll pass." And I kind of thought that would happen. And I said to G-Man, and I was a little unsure because I didn't know if he would really want to go or not. I said, "Do you want to go?" But because I do know that's his favorite Star Wars movie, but I also know he's a sophisticated grown up and all that. Do you want to go see Return of the Jedi in Jacksonville? He said, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh crud," because he's got a big boy job now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on Fridays he works 9 to 5, like grown ups are supposed to, or 8 to 5, or whatever it is. And so I thought, okay, great. So I'm not going to the noon show, but I'm worried about the evening shows, and I was trying to work out how it would work out because I didn't want to go to the 9:30 because I would not stay awake during a 9:30 regardless of what movie it was, and because I get up at 3:30 every
Yeah.
morning, and so what happened with the AMC here, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today. What happened with the AMC in Orange Park was they had originally it was 12:30, 3:30, 6:30, 9:30. I thought, well, he gets off at 5. It's going to be tight to get to that 6:30. But then all of a sudden they started opening up 2:15, 7:15. They started opening up more and more shows of this thing. Now, why is that? Because they're selling, and they're selling bigger than they thought they would.
Mm-hmm.
So I grabbed onto the 7:15 and I went, okay, I really still want to go see the 12:30. So I went ahead and got the 12:30 tickets. I drove down to Orange Park, saw the show, stopped and grabbed a couple of comics, drove back to Brunswick, picked up G-Man, drove back down to Orange Park. So I was on the road almost 5 hours, just going back and forth between the two during the day. And we saw the 7:15 show. So I
That's
got my
awesome.
fill. I got my fill of Return of the Jedi that day. It was nice.
On one of our most recent shows, we were talking about this, and I think, for all the hits or misses that Disney has done since 2012, right? It was 12, right? 12 or
The
13.
acquisition was announced in 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
October 30th,
Yep.
2012. Yeah.
Yep. So, with all those, I
Mhm.
mean, can't they see that if every 5 years on the anniversary, like the 3 and the 8 for for Return of the Jedi, the 0 and the 5 for Empire Strikes Back, the 7 and the 2 for Star Wars. Even now with the prequels, and if you want with the sequels, just limited engagement, 1 week only, or 1 weekend to the next weekend. I really feel like it's easy money for them to do that, and they don't really have to work that hard at it.
I'm going to go you one better, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. It's very weird to me how people continue to underestimate Star Wars, and it is a history going back to day one that people underestimate Star Wars, and I don't know why. I mean, it certainly has transformed the culture, right? But yet people misunderestimate it. Thank you. I just George Bushed it. Wow. People underestimate it every time. Okay, so Universal has first, right of first refusal on this thing right after American Graffiti, right? They don't want it.
Nope.
They don't want it. Takes Laddie at 20th Century Fox to say, all right, we'll do it, but we're not going to give it a, huge budget. So they do their thing. They get it done. Oh, what about the toys? Who cares about the toys? Take the toys. We don't care. Take the toys. Lucas said,
Toys,
okay, I'll take
toys
the
don't
toys.
sell related to movies,
Toys,
right?
yeah. What do we sell? It was like 5 Planet of the Apes toys. Come on, let's. TV's where the toys are at. That's why the $6 Million Man sells so well. So, it again underestimating Star Wars, and then of course Lucas does Empire himself, does Jedi. Star Wars goes away. The dark times, you know them quite well.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1991 comes out, and Bantam Spectra decides they're going to do this novel trilogy with Timothy Zahn. You might have heard of that book.
Yep.
And when I got to meet Timothy Zahn at Celebration Orlando in 2017, that was one of the things we talked about was, and he was telling everybody because I brought him my first edition of the book, my day of release book, and to get him to sign it. And he said, this thing was marked down to $15. That's when they released it. It was $15, and the reason was because they didn't think anybody would buy it at the regular price of $19.95. Mm-hmm. So Bantam marked it down to $15, then put it out, and what did it do? It exploded.
Right.
Day one, exploded. They totally underestimated it. 1997. Star Wars, the special edition comes out. It's special edition. What do you care? We'll do it. We'll do Empire in 3 weeks. We'll do Jedi 2 weeks later. We'll get them out there. We'll rush them through the theaters. We'll make a few bucks. We'll get out of it. I think they spent $20 million total. I think it's been $10 million refurbishing Star Wars, and then 5 each on the other two. And, so if they make 50, they've done fine.
Right.
On a movie that they really didn't have to invest a whole lot in. So Star Wars opens at 30 million, which in 1997 is in January 31st, 97 is huge numbers.
Right.
And 3 weeks later, when they were ready to release Empire Strikes Back, they weren't ready to release Empire Strikes Back because Star Wars was still kicking butt, but they couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
So okay, fine. February 21st. Now, March 7th is supposed to be Return of the Jedi, and they made the smart call and pushed it back a week, if you remember, to March 14th. And they did that because they had no idea when they set those dates that these things would blow up like they did. So then we get to this past April 28th. They release it in not even 500 theaters, like 460 something theaters, I think. And as you say, all AMCs. And by the way, they had to add screens in Orange Park in order to meet the demand. So here we go. We're going to throw this out there. We're not going to advertise it. We're not going to do anything to, the fans know it's there and they'll go find it. And that's that. I get there that day at noon, and it's not a full theater at 12:30, but it's pretty okay. And then that night it's sold out. And all the shows around it are sold out. And I get there and people are cosplaying and they're bounding. And, this thing racks up. What did it do? What did it do for the opening weekend? 5 million?
Yeah, it was in the top 5 of movies.
It was 10,000 a screen, which is an insane amount of money. I think it was the highest per screen average of the major releases that week.
Wow.
And by far, and again, had they released it for more than a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and maybe advertised it, this thing would have blown up huge for them. We underestimated Star Wars again.
It amazed me when I was sitting there going, I only know about it because people are putting things on social media and things like that, that it's coming out. I was
Mhm.
actually, I was finishing up my trip in Gulf Shores. So it came out when I was in Gulf Shores. I had to get back, and then I was like, well, it's only going for another few days. I have to
Mhm.
go see it before they close it down. But yeah, there was not a lot of pub at all. And you think
No.
maybe one commercial, or maybe on Disney Plus, maybe you would
Yeah.
be putting that out there, or maybe on the Disney Channel, you'd
Yeah.
maybe be putting that between each kid show, but no, none of that.
They put the poster art on Return of the Jedi when it came out. The
Hmm.
guy who did the poster, who also did the Empire poster, with both of which are just gorgeous, gorgeous posters. He pointed out that Disney Plus had changed the artwork for Jedi out to that poster that day. But other than that, I mean, and that's not an advertisement. That's not see it in theaters. That's just like,
No,
hey, dial it up here. Doesn't it look great?
right.
But yeah, I don't know what it is about Star Wars that it continually is underestimated. And you don't think about that when you think about, again, how transformative it is, how you can't, if you go out anywhere, you're going to see somebody wearing a Star Wars t-shirt. If you're out for
100%.
2 hours in any kind of a crowded area, you're going to see Star Wars t-shirts.
Yep.
You see Star Wars is everywhere, so you don't really think of it as being something that's underestimated, yet it is every single time. It's underestimated.
I would agree with you. It's just kind of crazy. I look at it and I think to myself, I did a poll recently on Twitter, and
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, guys, I'm not a completionist in a lot of things, but one of the things I really am a completionist is I really like the video setup of all Star Wars movies, all Star Wars animated, live
Mm-hmm.
action, everything, right? And so I've got DVDs, Blu-rays, VHS, all those different things, but yet I can't get season 7 of the Clone Wars. I can't get The Mandalorian. I can't get Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I get it for Disney Plus because they're saying, well, if I give that to you, there's no reason to come here. But there is, because just like behind you with that bookshelf, and just like me with my bookshelf over here,
Mm-hmm.
I've got them displayed up there, right? And if I want to, I go pop it in, get that nice feel, maybe watching some of the extra scenes, all those different things, and take it in and enjoy it. But I put a poll up and I said, if Disney would release these in a hard copy, would you buy them? And then would you keep Disney Plus? And I think it was 81% of the people who polled said, not only would we buy them, we would keep Disney Plus.
Yes.
19% said, I'd buy them and I wouldn't need to keep Disney Plus.
And
The
I'm going to make a prediction for
19%.
you. I'm going to make a prediction for you. You're going
Yeah,
to get your physical copies.
it's easy money.
Well, here's the other thing. The streaming wars. This has become a thing that I've really, really, really been investing my attentions into of late. The streaming wars are such that they're finally starting to do what I said they were going to do at first, and that is the casualties are starting to mount.
Mm-hmm.
Things are, people are starting to, the bloodbath has been happening, and people are finally starting to go, we cannot continue to bleed like this.
Right.
And one of the things that Bob Iger has done when he's come back to Disney, and he's done some dumb things, in my opinion, since he's come back to Disney, he's continued some dumb things that, were the reasons why people were trying to bring him back in the first place. And he's done the opposite of what he should have done. But one of the things he's talked about is you can't spend the money that people spend to create content for streaming, because on the other end, the subs just don't pay for it all.
Mm-hmm.
And you're never going to get enough subscriptions to pay for that content and make it genuinely profitable at the rate they were spending. So things have to change. One of the things that happened when the streaming wars started is everybody just abandoned physical media. I mean, you go to Target now and try to buy a Blu-ray or a 4K. I mean, you have to use a magnifying glass to find them. Go to Best Buy, which used
Oh
to be
yeah.
the best place in the
Oh,
world to get discs, and now there's like a
everything.
shelf.
Right.
And that's because, I mean, all of the studios just gave up on physical media because they're going to put all their effort into streaming. But streaming, what they basically did was streaming was going to be there regardless. And so when they said, okay, to hell with, can I say to hell with?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when they said to hell with physical media and we're going to put everything into streaming, what they basically said was, we're going to take this one revenue stream that we have and we're going to throw away this other revenue stream that we have that is based on our creating a product and selling it into the marketplace, not a subscription. One of the things that I complain a lot about is this day and age, we are so subscription heavy. We don't
Mm.
own anything. We just subscribe to everything. And the reason companies like it is because, when Microsoft would put out a new version of Word, of not Word, but Office every few years, and you'd buy it for $400 or whatever. And then you'd have it for until you didn't want it anymore. And then you'd buy a new one, maybe later, maybe a couple versions later, whatever. And so every few years they'd get that influx of a bunch of $400 expenditures and then, back off. But now everybody can subscribe to Office and always have it updated for $10 a month forever.
Right.
And it's nice and it sounds convenient, but at the same time, you're not owning anything and you're just constantly paying for them. You never pay for it and you
Right.
never really own anything. And everything's like that now. You don't own anything. You just kind of subscribe to things. Even like the Kindle digital books, you're subscribing. A lot of people, I don't do it, but a lot of people subscribe to Kindle Unlimited so they can read whatever they want.
Right.
They don't even own the digital copies of the books. They just, or Spotify where you just subscribe and you don't, so people just don't own physical things. Well, there's still a market for physical things. And subscriptions only go so far as generating revenue, especially on something like movies, which are very expensive, and TV shows, which are very expensive to produce. So Disney threw that away. The other thing I think they did was they made I've seen the complaining online of people saying, they're starting to put things in the vault now. I paid for everything and they're putting it in the vault now. Well, they should never have promised them everything. And they didn't really give them everything. As our Jacksonville bureau chief was complaining to me the other day that, when he signed up for Disney Plus and they said everything, he thought they meant everything, all the obscure ephemera, the Walt Disney Presents. And they didn't do all that. They didn't do all that. But the truth is, one of the ways Disney made a huge amount of money was the vault. You put Snow White out, you let everybody buy it for a year or two, you put it away for 7 years. When you bring it back, there's a whole new generation of 7-year-olds, and then you put it right back out again and you resell it to all those kids.
Right.
When it's permanently available on the stream, you never sell it again. You never get that bump from it again. You also don't get the cultural relevance from having it be prominent again. So Iger recognizes this, and Iger recognizes that there's a place in the market for physical media. Now, it's not as big a place in the market as it used to be because there are people who just are okay with streaming and that's it. But you have to kind of make them want the physical media.
Well, I mean, think about it. I joke all the time because I haven't gotten a newspaper in, I don't know, 20 years. But my parents still get a newspaper. My in-laws still get a newspaper every day.
There's still a market for it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm sure 20 years from now, because I'm 51, 20 years from now, there are going to be so many less people like me that will say, I want the Blu-rays and the DVDs and everything else, that because people will be trained on the fact that, well, you don't really ever own Star Wars. It's just there, right?
Yeah.
So it might fade away, but in that meantime, I would think you would capitalize on it.
Well, and also the other thing you do is you create a demand for it. Right now, some of these theatrical windows are insanely small. Some of them are, 30, 45 days.
Oh yeah.
I was going through my storage unit not too long ago because I'm got a little project going in there now. And I was finding some of my old POP material. You know what POP is? Retail term?
Point of purchase?
Point of purchase. That's right. POP materials for the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade release. Do you know when it came out on video?
No.
February 1990. Okay.
For
it came
Indiana
out May Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Oh,
Last Crusade. Okay.
Yeah. So Last Crusade came out in theaters I believe it was May 26th, 1989. The end of February 1990, it came out on video. So you're talking about what, 9-month window from theatrical to, and so in that time they had a theatrical release that they milked forever. Then they had a second run release, which I don't know what second run theaters do anymore. I mean, I don't know how they can survive, if they even do survive, if they exist anymore.
I think our last one shut down here in Indy. I don't know if it's even out there.
Why continue on? Because you've got no product, because the theatrical window is so short that by the time a movie, usually would take about 6 weeks plus for a movie to hit second run theaters. Well, 6 weeks, it's on video, it's on a streaming service. And see, that's the thing Disney would do, is they'd put out their movie, and not just Disney. I mean, Warner Brothers was doing day and date throughout 2021, which was insane. the day it was on theaters, it was on HBO Max for nothing.
Wow.
Why would you go see it at the theater and pay $15 when you pay $15 a month and see everything they've got for free? Or not for free, but for $15. But Disney was doing that thing where they dump it on Disney Plus at the beginning of the home video window. Well, you're not going to make any money that way. You still have an opportunity.
Right.
You're cutting these theatrical runs short. One of the things, Tom Cruise had a huge fight with Paramount about the theatrical window for Maverick. And he kept saying, it's got to be big. It's got to be a long thing. And they're like, no, we want to dump it on Paramount Plus as soon as possible, quickly. We got to. He's like, no.
Push people there. Right.
Yeah. And so, who won that? Tom Cruise won it. But who else won it? Paramount, because even though they lost the argument, they won the war because they made a butt pile of money by losing that argument, because they expanded that theatrical window, at a huge window for it. So, okay, so you have the theatrical window that should be decent size, so you don't shove it out of theaters before it's time. And then you springboard off of that to a home video sale, a home video window, whether that's Vudu with streaming or whether it's physical media, but some kind of a home video window, and then you put it on streaming.
Yep.
And people will be okay with it. People who are willing to wait for it to show up on streaming will wait a very long time for it to show up on streaming. In the meantime, the people who don't want to wait on it for streaming, you're making new revenue off of them. How tough is this?
It's not tough, but unfortunately, you and I are not CEOs or board members of
no. But Bob Iger recognizes this. Bob Iger has said, we are going to return to putting physical media out there. So I don't know.
I don't know a Star Wars fan who wouldn't want that.
Every Star Wars people buy that stuff.
Yep.
They buy it over and over again. If we were upstairs where my theater room is, my little movie theater room, I'd show you. I bought VHSs like you did. I bought letterbox VHSs because there was the letterbox box set.
Yep.
I bought Malaysian DVDs because it took so long for Lucas to put them out on DVD. Malaysian bootleg DVDs. I bought the regular DVDs. I bought the DVDs with the old cuts on them. I bought the Blu-ray box set. I bought individual Blu-rays because they put them out in these neat steel books. I bought another set after that, and then I bought the 4K set. So I mean, I've bought the trilogy now 9-10 times. And I keep buying the same thing over and over again. When you have an opportunity to sell somebody who will do that, you say, well, gee, you think he'd buy a Mando season 1 box set? You think he'd buy Book of Boba Fett? Didn't really love Book of Boba Fett, but anal completist.
Well, you put some nice little artwork in it. You maybe put a couple cut scenes. You put
a bonus in it. Yeah.
Put a little, commentating
commentary, Filoni and Favs. All day I'd watch that.
I'm watching 100 times. Yeah, no, I agree. The thing about, you remember after Mando season 1 came out, when they had that great gallery where they talked about every episode and went over every single thing, right? They of course cut back to only 1 after season 2. And I don't think we've heard anything about a season 3 version of that.
I haven't seen it. No.
Real Star Wars fans, the people that run podcasts, listen to podcasts, read the books, all those kind of things, collect the toys. We want that. We'll pay for those things.
Yes. And here's the thing. Bob Iger realizes that now. He didn't realize it when he launched Disney Plus, but he gets now that there is a value to having physical media out there because it is a guaranteed revenue stream that they just don't have. That they literally took and threw away.
You're 100% right. I mean, it's thrown away. And I get it, because I have Apple Music, and it doesn't matter how many songs I put on my phone or whatever, it's there. But obviously, if I ever get rid of my Apple products, that's all gone, right? My daughter, who's 20, has an entire bookshelf filled with albums. She's 20. She's got the albums from when I was growing up, but she's got the albums now because artists are coming back and saying, hey, look at that source of revenue that we can still, yes, they're on their phones, but now they have the album sitting in their room as well.
Yep. And I think that's probably one of the reasons LP sales, have been pushed. I mean, look, I see some of these guys, and I'm sure this is not your daughter, but I see some of these guys. They'll go buy this record and brag about having the LP, and then they'll put it on a $50 Crosley turntable. And you're look at the superior sound of the, and then with like a plastic needle or some crap like that. So but they think that there's, they've created
Sure.
this cachet about it, and so people want it, and that's the job of a marketer, is to make people want products. Well, guess what? There's already a built-in want for
Yep.
physical media. All you got to do is give it to us, and we will buy it, and we'll buy Clone Wars season 7, and we'll buy Mando seasons 1 through 3. Even people who claim to have hated it, they will buy. I was looking through the shelf. I have 2 copies of Last Jedi. I hated Last Jedi. I have 2 copies of it. No, I'm sorry. I have 3 copies of it. Because I bought a steel book, and I bought a limited edition of it, and then I bought the 4K version. I have 3 copies of Last Jedi. That's my least favorite Star Wars film, but I have it. So, and I have it 3 times. So yeah, physical media will sell. They just, and Disney gets it. And I am telling you that in the coming years, you're going to see Book of Boba. My belief, you're going to see Book of Boba Fett on disc. You're going to see Mando on disc. You're going to see Ahsoka on disc. You're going to see all that stuff. And I hope they'll go back and finish up things like, giving us an actual HD version of, the Lego, the Freemaker Adventures season 2, because we never got we only got a DVD of that.
Look at you. So, you even go further than I do. That's one of the things. It's one of the things I'll say. You talk about you and Steve earlier. I run a podcast, but I only go so deep. Like, I'm like, oh, I know a lot about Star Wars, and then I talk to you guys, and I go, oh crap, I don't know that much about Star Wars.
No. But no, I'll listen to some of these podcasts, and these guys will start talking about these background characters and their entire history, and I'm going, all right, I'm out. I don't know anything there. I'm done. So yeah, it's funny. There's so much there that you can have your little area, and there are still vast swaths that you don't have any idea about. And that's kind of what's neat about the whole thing. It's such a big galaxy at this point.
Well, guys like you and me, I mean, you look at, like Jackson is one of my favorite characters, right? As silly as in Star Wars Jackson is, for me as a 7-year-old, when I saw that comic come out, and he was on the front cover with them, all lined up together, and Don Quixote and all that. I was like, I don't care what this is, I'm in love with it right now. And to be able to get the Jackson, now, do I wish they would have made a Jackson, animated style instead of this realistic style? Yes. But I still have Jackson now, which I'm really happy that I could get that. But you and I, we love the Marvel. We love the Brian Daly series. We love, those kind of things. I mean, I even love the Lando series, the little paperback Landos from 82 or something like that, 81, 82.
I think started those 83.
83. Yeah, I mean, I look at those, and that's some of my favorite stuff. And you're talking about people, what they, the cachet of, look at me, I'm this cool guy with a record player. I think I'm kind of cool because I've got copies of all those things that mean something to me. So yeah,
absolutely. But again, books, they still sell books.
They do.
So at some point they will start selling discs again. My firm belief. I could be totally off the deep end on this, but I think Iger gets that. I think he realizes that they've got to find more ways to monetize that content. I think that's also one of the reasons things are going to go back in the vault, because you can watch Cinderella anytime you want. You shouldn't be able to watch Cinderella anytime you want. You know why? Because it should be special.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be able to watch Aladdin anytime you want. It should be special.
You should be able to watch the new Aladdin anytime you want, just not the old Aladdin.
Yeah, you can watch it all day. But see, they didn't do what I thought they should have done in the first place. I don't think they should have had Will Smith as the genie. I could have made a better Aladdin movie than they made. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's what you do. See, because you got a CGI genie anyway, right?
Yep.
Here's what you do. You take Robin Williams' outtakes from the original film, because he was improvising all over those scripts, throwing out stuff. That they wrote stuff for him that never got used. He recorded. There's probably a gajillion years worth of outtakes from that film. You create a CGI genie and use Robin Williams' unused dialogue in the film and make that kind of part of the marketing. Get the family involved and say, look, we want to use his likeness for the genie. We want to use this part and make it a big tribute to Robin Williams. Now, the movie did great, so it's
It did, but
It did
you know as well as I
big
know,
money.
when you got the original, that original with Robin Williams was something. It was a genie in a bottle, if I could say
Yes,
that.
yes,
It
yes.
it
And it was
it
very special.
it was. I mean, you're sitting there going, "I'm an adult and I love Robin
Mhm.
Williams, and he's taking this to another level, like to
Yes.
where adults like it and the kids like it." It was great. And my son was just old enough to where it was a very important thing to him. He loved Aladdin growing up. I'm sure your son was close to that age as well, that Aladdin was, well, he was, your son's a little bit younger than my son, I believe. So
Yeah.
he probably came in after that. But
Yeah.
um, so I know we don't have a ton of time. I was going to throw, you brought this up about the Robin Williams,
Hmm.
and I'm going to keep it short. Like I said, I got to zoom back to some other things, but I just wanted us to have this nice little chat, just you and I.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure you and I have ever spoken about this, but bringing up Robin Williams and putting that voice into a updated Aladdin, what would be your thoughts on? I know on Disney for a while they've been doing, and I think it's on the YouTube channel where they've been doing snippets of Star Wars in animated style, but
Hmm.
using the voice from the original movie.
Yeah. What was
Do you
it?
think
Is that the Galaxy of Adventure stuff? Is that what that was? Is that what it
Yeah,
was called?
I don't know. They were like 2 minute segments of the
Yeah.
actual movie, but they had like Luke's voice, but it was an animated style to where they could pause and do some dramatic things with the artwork and all that. So I don't
Yeah.
remember that. It was snippets. Again, I think it was on Disney YouTube. Would you ever be against them bringing out the animated version of the original trilogy, but using the voices from the original characters? Like, go ahead and taking the same sound effects. And maybe that's a weird, stupid idea, but I, again, talking about new revenue streams, think of could you make the advancements with the Clone Wars type of animation and things like that to
Hmm.
where what you could do with the original trilogy, but still have Mark Hamill, still have Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Alec Guinness, so on and so forth as the voice, but just have the animated scenery going on.
Do me a favor, Joe.
Yeah.
Never speak of this again
Okay.
because it's the kind of thing that they would do. It's the
It
kind of
is.
thing they would do, and it's the kind of thing they would probably make good money off of. But boy, I don't want them to do it because the Galaxy of Adventures thing just it got kind of ridiculous, and there was that the one famous one that I really didn't care for, and I think a lot of people didn't care for was when they were doing the swing, the rope swing across the chasm,
Yes.
and Luke's tying himself up, and Leia's got to slam him back in order to save him, and then she
You are
swings across,
correct.
and
It
I
it
don't want to
wouldn't
see all that
it wouldn't
nonsense.
be done in the proper way. You are 100% correct. The If done to where you just upgraded everything into a better visual, I could see it, but
Mm.
you're right. They would not do that. They would go to where Luke was a
They would
bumbling
have to
idiot. That
modernize it,
correct. Yeah, yeah.
and
You know what? I'm gonna put
and
the
and
brakes on it. I,
well, here's the thing.
I'm
And we always talk about one of my complaints about a lot of the things they do with Star Wars is that they're too of this era. A lot of the things, and I'm not knocking Disney Star Wars because I consume all of it, just
yes.
about, and I enjoy most of it. But there is a lot of it that I will look at and go, that is too of this era when Star Wars was always timeless and should be and
Mm-hmm.
should remain timeless. So it should be a thing that when I make this in 20 years, is it going to still have the exact same effect? Is it still going to seem exactly the same? And you can say that about the original trilogy. I think with the exception of a digital effect or two, and that's the thing, maybe a
Sure.
special effect or two, but I think you could even say that about the sequel trilogy at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't know that you're going to be able I say that you can say it about the prequel trilogy. I don't know that you'll be able to say it about the sequel trilogy. I don't know that you'll be able to say it about all of the TV stuff that they're doing right now.
Yeah.
But the timelessness I think would go away if they did what you're proposing.
Well, and I think you're probably right. I just when you said the Robin Williams things, I thought,
Mhm.
could they? I don't know. They could,
Yeah,
but
they could,
um,
and they would if they heard you say it.
I think
So
well,
shh.
nobody listens to this show, so it won't matter. But but thinking about it, going back to what you said earlier about
Mhm.
underestimating Star Wars, and I'll go to this. I think part of the reason that people underestimate Star Wars is because that those underlying tenets of Star Wars about good versus evil, family, uh, found family or regular family, right?
Mhm.
But something mythological, something bigger than yourself. I really think the reason that people underestimate it is because a lot of people can't let themselves go and be a part of that and feel a part of that. And the people who get it, that's why we get it. That's
Yeah.
why you said it still is there as big as it is.
So can it be that there are people who view it as a product of an era when in fact it is timeless?
Yep.
And that's where they miss the boat. They say, "Oh, this is of that era. It's that era's gone and done. It's not going to do anything." When in fact the truth is it's timeless. So once you put it out there, that timelessness takes hold. Is that kind of what you're getting to on that?
100%.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that.
Well, good. Okay. Well, you and I are solving the Star Wars world's problems right now. So I wish I could go for longer, but again, this was a cutaway little just conversation here today. What's going on in the Scott Ryfun world before we break away? Anything new? Anything different? Are you going to be getting new guests for my Star Wars story when you have time? Are you going to any new conventions or anything like that coming up soon?
I was so hoping you were not going to ask Star Wars story question. What I'm going to say of my Star Wars story is what I tweeted out, and I tweeted it out, I guess, on May 4th or 5th, and I didn't mean it for the quote unquote holiday.
Yes.
But I just tweeted under the My Star Wars Story account, not yet.
Okay.
And so my answer to any question on My Star Wars Story right now is not yet. But what that should convey to you is an open-ended maybe.
Okay.
And that's what I'll say about it. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Well, I think everybody who's listened to those before, and if you haven't, they're still out there. Go check them out. My Star Wars Story. Great guests, great detail, great passion for Star Wars in those conversations. So go check those out until the maybe occurs. And as you know from being on other podcasts that I've listened to you recently, you don't have to worry about it. The invitation is here. I know you're a vampire. You've already been invited in. Anytime you want to be on Rule of the Galaxy, except for Fridays during football season.
Yes.
And maybe an occasional.
I can't do Thursdays, Fridays during football season, every other Wednesday. Although I'm now free 5th Wednesday. When I originally did that, I was not free on the 5th Wednesdays, but now I'm free on the 5th Wednesdays. It's only the 1st and 3rd Wednesdays that I'm not available. So
okay, good.
Okay, just write all that down.
I will. I'll put a spreadsheet together on it. So look, man, you're just somebody who I really appreciate in this community, and I can't thank you enough. We talk about D-Doc and how we're best pals, and he's in Philly and we're in Indy. You're part of the Star Wars South Georgia Mafia there for us. We always tease about that. We love you like a brother from another Star Wars planet or galaxy. So anytime you want to be on, you're more than welcome. And my goal is to not only meet D-Doc soon, but you, Steve, Lucas Butler, Shaz, on and on, all these people, Michael Nip, I've met so many people through you guys now that it's becoming even more of a community. And so I hope that our paths cross, whether it be at Disney, whether it be at a convention, or we just figure out some way to get a bunch of Star Wars guys together and hang and talk at a comic shop. So
I would dearly love that.
Thank you for coming on again today, last minute, and really appreciate it. And if there's everything Rule the Galaxy can do for you, we'll have D-Doc build it for you. So, brother, be good. Thanks a lot. Everybody, thanks for listening. It's always fun when we have Mr. Ryfun in the Star Wars Rule the Galaxy little chamber we have here. So you know what? You know where to follow us. It's Rule the Galaxy everywhere. Every now and then it's Rule the Galaxy SW. So look that up. And until next time, may the Force be with you.
So with you.
Finger pointing gets us nowhere! Steve!
Steve! Grab your sleeping bags and your Pop-Tarts, because it's time for...
No one could have seen that coming. Definitely his overall sense of humor, his demeanor, he has this amazing sense of everything. You can't pinpoint it with Steve because he's this happy-go-lucky guy and nothing gets him down.
Me gustan mucho los animales. I like animals. You're listening to the Big Honky